Okay, time to talk about this saxophone. This saxophone is now the most interesting saxophone I own by far. More interesting than any of the baritones I have, or even the bass saxophone, or the 1905 one I was showing you earlier. This is now the coolest thing I own. So what is it? It's a baritone in F, believe it or not. And that's very strange, and there's actually some controversy around this and some mystery because technically there is no baritone in F. It's not listed in any catalog. Nobody ever theoretically made a baritone in F. Adolph Sax, when he was creating the saxophone, designed saxophones in multiple keys. F and E flat were designed for like military bands, but there were saxophones designed C and F for orchestras. Obviously, we've heard of C melody saxophones. There's an F mezzo and some other strange higher pitched saxophones in F. But I believe this is a saxophone in F, a baritone. But I believe it's like a one-off. As far as I can tell, it was just a custom horn. So let me show you a comparison to some other horns. Here's my Con. It's from 1925. This is my normal baritone. This is what I play most of the time. It's old, but compared to these other horns, it looks downright modern. So this is the one I showed you before. This is a Yvette Schaefer made Buffet Crampon from 1905. And I showed you all the weird things with the really weird octave key. It's got the double octave key system. It's old, right? You can tell it's old. It does go down to low B flat and only goes up to high E flat, even though saxophones at that time could have gone to F. It's old. So here is a saxophone also made by Yvette Schaefer, right? And according to the serial numbers, they both have the serial number on here. This one is actually 10 years newer. So this is like 1915-ish. This is 1905. So despite the fact that this saxophone is newer, there's some really odd things that are more old-fashioned. For instance, if you look at the 1905 one, it's actually got rollers, right? It's got like semi-modern keys. If you look at this one that they made later, there's no rollers. This is much closer to the way like the original Adolph Sax horns would have made. You can tell just the size, right? Look at it, it's a lot smaller. It's just like a teeny little baritone. Now, part of that is that this one, the one in F, only goes down to low B. It doesn't have a low B flat. And that's interesting because actually Yvette Schaefer came out with a patent in the late 1800s for low B flat. And obviously this one that's 10 years earlier has a low B flat. So clearly this was made to mimic sort of an earlier instrument. It's also got that weird double octave key system, but interestingly, it's got more of a modern of the second octave key where you push it and it opens, as opposed to this really weird being held closed until it opened key. But a really weird thing about this one, the neck is attached. It does not detach. So it's all one piece. And that is much more like what the original saxophones would have been like. And pitch-wise, I'll show you in a minute, but this plays in F with a slightly modified mouthpiece, or a mouthpiece that would work in F. And some people would just say, hey, this is a high-pitched baritone. But honestly, they did make high-pitch and low-pitch baritones, but the high-pitch wouldn't put it up an entire step, right? F is a full whole step above E-flat. And a high-pitched baritone, even if you really jam the mouthpiece in, you're really not going to get to F. And I'll show you in a minute, this actually definitely does play in F. So they're both actually silver, believe it or not. This one is just the most tarnished I've ever seen. I did sort of polish up one part of it. You can see a little bit here where the writing was, so I could read the serial number. So it is silver. So one of the ways to describe transposing instruments is that when you finger a C on that instrument, when you play C, a written C on that instrument, the note that actually sounds is the key that it's in. So for instance, alto saxophone, when you play C on alto, you're actually hearing a concert E flat. When you play a C on a tenor saxophone, which is in B flat, you're actually hearing a concert B flat. So on this instrument, as I'm about to demonstrate, when you play a C, you're actually hearing a concert F. So this instrument is an F. So why do we transpose? It's actually so you can play all the saxophones without having to do a different fingering system for each saxophone. We transpose the music so the player can use the same fingerings. So G is this, 1, 2, 3, on all the saxophones, regardless of what actual note you're playing. It's an easier thing for the player. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to show you me playing, and then I'll show you the tuner to prove that this saxophone with a baritone saxophone mouthpiece pushed on a bit farther and slightly altered, but not much, is actually playing in F. So the pads are leaking like crazy, so I'm going to play the higher C, just because the rest of it is, needs to be repadded. But I'm going to play C, and then I'm going to show you the tuner, and you'll see that I'm playing concert F. Okay, here it is, playing C with the octave key. So here you have a baritone in F. I'm pretty sure this is like a one-off. Maybe it was a high-pitched baritone that they modified even further to raise the pitch into F, but I really don't think it's just a high-pitched baritone. It plays way too high to actually just be a high-pitched baritone. I think also the fact that it's sort of modeled after a much earlier saxophone, even it looks way older than the saxophone I have of the same exact company, the same maker, as 10 years earlier. It looks like it's made to look like an 1800 saxophone. I think this was just a one-off or a prototype or a gimmick or a custom order, I don't know what, but Yvette Schaefer, Buffet Crampon, made this in the style of a baritone in F that never really got made, never got put into production. I don't even know if maybe Adolph Sax had prototype, I don't know. There's still a lot to figure out about this horn. It's really hard to find information about it. It's not in any of their catalogs. I don't think it was something they sold. I think this is kind of again, a one-off. So more mystery, more things. I need to get this repadded, but I'm sure you all want to hear what it sounds like, of course. So here's what the baritone in F kind of sounds like. I'm going to hang out mostly at the register because some of the lower pads are crumbled when I was looking at them, so they're really leaking. 1915 Yvette Schaefer baritone in F, I think.